So we're going to discuss dark psychology, and this is an article that I read across that I wanted to share. And it's the future of dark psychology and understanding its impact and implications, or how it impacts and how it's implicated in our society. So these are some of the tactics that have been used on humanity, probably since I wouldn't want to say the beginning of time, but probably after a certain fall of certain civilizations, they began to use dark psychology, and to this day, it is still being used as a tactic to control and manipulate the masses of people. The 1% manipulates the masses of people using dark psychology. And as you can see over here, one of their dark manipulative tactics is to say their accomplice is their enemy, so you would never suspect their association. And that's, the truth. When you have countries, at odds with each other, and these things are being discussed in the media, and to the people that's unsuspecting, you would think that these particular countries are at odds with each other, but in all actuality, they're all in cahoots with each other. I've I've encountered numerous um, numerous countries that had the same setup that America had, as far as there being a certain fraternal group or fraternal order behind the scene, or just established in that particular region. And they have always had a presence in shaping the way that people perceive their realities or in their particular society. So, what we see now in the media is, um, in the presidency, you see Donald Trump and Elon Musk um, having a lot of backlash, and two sides is warring back and forth. You have Bernie Sanders trying to get the people to respond to their actions, saying we have to stop them because they're going to tear things up and blah. It's to create a certain level of fear, in that you have to make haste. And at this particular time, because of the wide amount of outlets that we have as far as the technology is concerned, we have so many things that we are distracted by. So a lot of people aren't. It's not having the effect that it is warranted that you want it to have. So it's kind of frustrating, especially with black folks, especially with people in the urban, or the what they would call minority groups. They're less concerned about what is going on in the White House at this particular time, mainly due to there not being any kind of black leaders, and like true black leaders. All these people are still in cahoots with the same the same thing. When you have Dr. Umar Johnson, you would think that he would be a stand-up guy for the black community, but he's more involved in what's going on in Hollywood, as opposed to what's actually going on in the communities with black people. So, he's been ruled out as a false leader. With we speak the truth over here, and um, there's no sugarcoating anything, especially when it's this is real life, things. So one of the things that we seen was Obama trying to influence, black people to cast their vote against Donald Trump. And he was saying that it was some, I really don't recall what it was that he was saying, but he was saying, black, the black men and blase blah and something about them, and they should, cast their vote for um, Kamala, or they call her Kamala or whatever, but I call her Kamala Harris. They should cast their vote. Then, you would think that he's in cahoots with Kamala, and they're buddy buddy. But at the President Carter's um, funeral, he sat next to Donald Trump as if they were, when the camera's off, all the lights, cameras, and action, all that stuff is it's just only acting, so they're just actors, not more, not no real politicians, just actors, and a stage that's been set by those same people. And he sat with Trump, whispered to Trump, and made Kamala kind of uncomfortable. Like, who is y'all talking about? Me? What is y'all talking about? So they have a way to make it seem as though their enemies, their friends are their enemies, but in all actuality, they have the same goal, and their goal is, to control the masses using dark psychology and dark manipulative tactics. And these are things that our society is founded on manipulative tactics from the beginning, or the establishment of American society to this present day. Even with the story of Christopher Columbus, or Cristobal Colon, even with that story, they were manipulated into believing that they was coming peacefully, and then they turned around and stabbed them in the back, and enslaved them, and took their land. So these are things that things are found on the dark manipulation. So, and I want to read this article because I find it insightful, and it may help people to understand what type of society we live in, and the hearts of man that's behind the dark psychology and the manipulative tactics. So, the future of dark psychology, understanding its impact and implications. In a world increasingly driven by psychological manipulation, topic of dark psychology emerges as a critical discussion point. Understanding the future of dark psychology involve dissecting its core concepts, implications, tactics, and ethical considerations. This exploration will help individuals recognize dark psychological tactics and assess their societal impacts comprehensively. What is dark psychology? Dark psychology refers to the study and implication of psychological principles and tactics that exploit human vulnerabilities. It intertwines elements of manipulation, coercion, and deceit with the intent of influencing others for personal gain. Central to this discourse are methods that can range from verbal persuasion to non-verbal cues that play on emotions. Key elements of dark psychology include manipulation, deceitful strategies to control others' perceptions and actions, forcing individuals, coercion, that's forcing individuals into compliance through threats or intimidation. Psychological abuse, inflicting mental harm to weaken others' self-esteem and independence. These are dark psychology tactics. And at that present moment, it was, you just heard a notification go off, and that was, something that I discussed on Facebook about, there's an influx of people trying to influence the masses about a certain artist, and they tried to intimidate this one guy. His name is Eric. I'm not gonna give you his last name, but I just want to see what he responded to. Okay. Uh, they was trying to compare, or try to outrule, Michael Jackson, and over rule him with another artist, um, Kendrick Lamar, saying that Kendrick Lamar made 133 million, 0.5 million, while Michael Jackson has 133.4 million. So they're using a dark manipulative tactic to glorify, to make people glorify a particular artist by doctoring numbers and staging a certain impact behind him, which is a form of dark manipulation. Like I said, they want to use this particular artist for, I guess because he's bland and he really doesn't have any kind of to me he seems, like, whatever. But that's just to me. But I see that they're trying to manipulate the masses into accepting him, or if they didn't agree with him, they would use certain. Let me see how it says. It's right here. Matter of fact, they would say it wasn't for you. Stay in your lane. He might have stated something like, no comparison. Michael was a million times better. So that was just his opinion. But then they have agents that'll chime in, and it wasn't for you. Stay in your lane. Like, it's not for you to comment. Stay in your lane. And regardless of how many people might disagree with, the height of Michael Jackson being compared to, some random new artist that's being pumped. Like me, I grew up, listening to Michael Jackson, and Michael Jackson's talent, I don't care if he wrote his music or whatever. His talent is like, it was, fast. He was just a fascinating, character, as far as him being a character. Now as far as his personality or who he is, we don't know him. But as far as his talent, that man was talented. Unquestionably talented. So there, and that could be a form of, manipulation, just by putting him on the forefront. But they could have had other people that was just as talented, but we've never got a chance to see them or experience their talent. But what they're doing is, all throughout the course of Facebook and social media, they'll have people promoting an artist, and if you were to object and say, he's not really that talented, or he's really not popping like that, there'll be mounts of people to try to intimidate you and try to threaten you into, or coerce you into, agreeing with them, or if you don't agree with them, they'll outcast you. But it's all still a form of dark manipulation. But that's just something that I wanted to touch on because he just responded, and it is what it is. And back to the comment, the in society, in social context, dark psychology manifests in various forms, such as scams, emotional abuse, and even more sophisticated psychological operations carried out by organizations. Understanding these tactics is crucial for self-protection and awareness. So you can be unaware of how dark psychology works and always succumb to the effects of it and how it is intended to target you. This is back when everybody's a targeted individual, especially when you're in the inner circle. If you're in the inner crowd of the masses, you're a targeted individual because you're the targeted audience. It's not the entertainers that's being targeted when they're entertaining. It's the actual audience. So we see how it works as far as being categorized as the audience and the influencer. So you have those that influence the audience. So how does dark psychology impact society? The implications of dark psychology extend beyond individual interactions and permeate various societal layers. Its impact can be categorized into several spheres. Interpersonal relationships. Dark psychology tactics often lead to damaging relationships. Manipulative individuals may exploit trust, resulting in emotional trauma for victims. Such tactics erode the fundamental foundation of human connections, leading to a pervasive environment of distrust. Now, that's important because interpersonal relations and relationships and how dark psychology and psychological tactics affect them. These go into male and female relationships. It's a dark psychology behind keeping male and females separated or in a state of distrust, in a traumatic or a victimized state, is because they repeatedly tell you over and over and over again about cheating, lying, and they pump it through the media, TV shows, like Maury, and now we have Karamo. We have a lot of shows that gear towards the growing distrust between men and women. And we don't understand that it has a certain source, and that certain source is a part of the dark psychological tactics that's used on people. If you can keep men and women, separated and weaken their relationships, then you can, zero in on the children, and the children are the future. So if we could weaken the structure now, the structure in the future would be as weak as the one that's implemented right now. So these are things that we actually see. Why can't men and women get together and actually grow together? Why don't women help men become better men and husbands, and why don't men want women to be better wives? Is because they have a certain people that set up as agents to promote distrust between men and women, which if you don't understand how particular individuals are used, then you are looking at the wrong thing. Men and women, even children, can be used to carry out dark manipulative tactics on the unsuspecting masses. And this is what it is, So, yeah, that's the interpersonal relationships of dark psychology. And, it leads to, distrust, emotional trauma, and, these are the fundamental foundations of human connections. Trust. So we create an area. The dark tactics create an area of distrust between men and women. So that's one thing that you have to be aware of. So in the workplace dynamic and the corporate settings, dark psychology is often employed to gain an upper hand through emotional manipulation, bullying, or even gaslighting. This behavior can create toxic workplace, increasing turnover rates and lowering productivity as employees struggle to navigate hostile environments. So that's how it is in the corporate setting. So dark psychology is used to gain the upper hand. What's going on, dog? You know, and these things play a role in our our mental stability, especially if you're working in with people and you're in a position where another person may want your position. I spoke about that before with when I was working at this particular company, and my boss, she was a female, and it was men that wanted her job. And there was the people that was amongst her that was purposely messing up her her work, so it would appear that she couldn't do her job, and they needed either to get her out, or they needed to replace her with somebody that could do the job correctly. So that was a form of dark manipulation, but I seen it, and I was able to point that out. And yeah, that's what that is. So you have to be mindful of that in the workforce. When you're in a position that other people want, they would use dark manipulation to swindle you out of that position. This goes along with destiny swapping as well. There's people that see that you are capable of doing certain things, but they will study you and then start to mimic you and try to keep you away from doing whatever it is that you do, so they can do it. That's a form of dark manipulation, and it's not a secret, especially when it comes to destiny swapping. Like I told you, all you got to do is just type it in, and it'll come up in all sorts of YouTube. It'll come up in all sorts of Facebook. It'll come up everywhere. Everywhere you type it in, it'll come up. So it's not something that people are unaware of. And media and advertising. Advertisers and media platforms are also significant players in the realm of dark psychology. Techniques that exploit human behavior, such as fear appeals or social proof, are commonly used to manipulate consumer choices. The future of media is likely to see even more aggressive forms of these tactics, which can lead to blurred lines between authentic engagement and manipulative persuasion. So, this is the thing about the media. The media is fueled off of manipulative persuasion, and very seldom do they have any real authentic engagement. Manipulative persuasions create more of a buzz than authentic engagement. So if there's tactics that they can use that can draw you know I don't want to say a wide amount of viewers, to channel in on them, to check their channel out, and then discuss it over, or keep a certain topic going, like with the ongoing pillaging of the government, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, those workers, and casting these workers out and stopping this and stopping that, then it would make a lot of people focused on watching that particular event roll out. So if they know that they're on the brink of a collapse, they'll watch the collapse with anticipation. And these are the things that, if you're paying attention, they're leading up to. They're trying to collapse certain things, but everything takes the participation of the people. First, you have to put the people in fear in order for you to roll it out. You can't roll it out without the people unsuspectingly knowing. So, being that the people are kind of have their attention invested in this place and that place, they don't really have their undivided attention. They're kind of, beating around the bush as far as, instilling that fear, So the media plays a huge role in carrying out these tactics, and the authentic engagement in the media would be stuff like the weather, the sports. These are authentic engagements. But stuff like or a real shooting or a real crime that's been committed and is caught on camera. But a lot of things, like mass shootings, plane crashes and stuff like that, these are manipulative tactics used. And now a lot of people are kind of like scared to take flights and go to this place and go to that place because of the series of planes crashing and stuff like that. But it's just a form of to manipulate people and to put people in a state of fear. People that's in fear can be controlled through that fear. That's just what it is. Fear is, you can easily control people that are in a state of fear. That's the juicy nectar of it. And the evolution of dark psychology tactics. As society advances and technology develops, so do the methods used in dark psychology. The rise of social media creates new avenues for psychological manipulation and exploitation. Psychological profiling tools allow manipulators to target specific weaknesses in individuals, enhancing efficacy of dark tactics. And there we have it. You heard and seen. It targets specific weaknesses in individuals. If you have a weakness for glorifying artists, we'll give you an artist to glorify. If you have a weakness, for food, you like to see food, you like to see this, we're going to give you a lot of food for you to see. You like to see violence, you like to see crime, we're going to zone in. We're going to give you a lot of this crime. So, it targets specific weaknesses in individuals. And another weakness is, again, the male and female relationships and how we really can't, get it together. There should be always solutions to the problems that we're confronted with, but they don't really come up with any kind of solutions to the problems. The same thing with the media. When the media relays certain things to you, they never give you a word of encouragement, for us to be better people. They just relay the news, random shooting, and, report it. Then it's back to you. Not, we have to be, more civil as people, Jim. These things, this is my third shooting this week. I don't really want to come out here no more. So we have to do better. People, we have to do better. What is it that you need for us to do better? What can we do as the news to help us not create this type of environment for you here? What can we do, But they're not set up like that because they really don't care. They really don't care. If they cared, they would try to help the people that's making their job, lucrative. They would try to help them, but they're not, So that's one thing about the media that you have to acknowledge, that they never give you any kind of word of encouragement. They only try to influence your thought or your opinion or the way that you might see things. They try to sway you by certain things that they say, but never try to give you any kind of encouraging or uplifting insight that'll help you become better people. And that's the media. So AI and machine learning. AI and machine learning. See, I told y'all, this is what's going to happen with, the world. They're going to be ran by AI. So AI and machine learning. With advancements in technology, dark psychology tactics might become more sophisticated. Artificial intelligence, AI, algorithms can analyze vast amounts of data to predict behavior patterns, enabling manipulators to strategize their approach more effectively. As AI's role in our lives grow, so does the potential for abuse of these dark psychological tactics. So, these are certain things that we see. How AI is being implemented. We got the Copilot, we got Siri, we got Bixby, we got Meta AI. We got all these AIs, and they actually know what we're going to say before we say it. When we're typing stuff, they predict certain things. So what they're saying is that they're dictating everything about us because of the information that they have on us right now. And that goes into the thing with, The Simpsons. The Simpsons, they don't give you any kind of predictions. They give you dictations. They dictate what are going to happen in events. They dictate what's going to happen, which is a form of predictive behavioral patterns, enabling manipulators to strategize their approach more effectively. So if they could manipulate events, then they are in a way more able to strategize their approach, especially if you go along with them. So, that's a way for them to abuse it, by the people not being able to see that these are things are being dictated. This is a dictation, not a prediction. They didn't predict anything, So, yeah. Digital scams. Another aspect to consider is the evolution of scams in the digital age. Cyber psychology has given rise to new forms of deceit, ranging from identity theft to emotionally charged phishing scams. Recognizing these tactics is essential in the digital age where personal information is perpetually at risk. So, they have a way to siphon your information through cyber psychology by you filling out certain things or going on certain sites, and your information will get hijacked, and now they have access to all of your resources. And that's something we have to be careful of, especially online, because these things happen every day, daily, and it's a part of the dark manipulative tactics that they use. Um, so, what are ethical implications of dark psychology? The ethical implication of dark psychology raises pressing questions regarding morality and the extent to which psychological techniques should be utilized. Here are some considerations. 1. Consent and coercion. One of the most significant ethical dilemmas in the concept of consent when individuals are manipulated without their awareness, the ethical line becomes exceedingly blurry. It raises questions about free will versus coercive influence. Can true consent exist in a spectrum where dark psychological tactics are at play? Can they? Can true consent exist when you know that you're being manipulated by a dark force? Would you really consent to that? That goes into, the coronavirus with the vaccination. These are forms of coercing people to consent to something that they are not really too fond or too familiar with, because this is something that just been sprung on me. It's by the news is saying it, and I have to listen to whatever the news say. That's just what I have to do. And you might think that these people have your best interests at mind and heart, but they don't. They are manipulators. They are manipulators, and that's just what it is. It's a form of dark manipulation, and that's a certain thing that you have to see. You have to see it. The coronavirus, and you have to consent to it. Consent and coercion. Are you being coerced into consension? If you know that you're being coerced into something, would you still consent to it? So, and responsibility and accountability. As the implications of dark psychology deepen, accountability for manipulative behaviors come into question. Who bears the responsibility when emotional harm is inflicted? The manipulator or society at large for allowing such behaviors to be proliferate? This dilemma presents serious concerns about justice and restitution for victims. So that's the thing. Who's responsible and who's accountable for implications of dark psychology? And those that are affected by it. If you was manipulated into taking something, whether it's a vaccine or it's a certain anything, and that it came from a dark psychological tactic used on people, and now that it's made known, who's responsible and accountable for the restitution of those that have been victimized by those tactics? These are things that we have to ask. Who's responsible and who's accountable? Is it me for allowing myself to be coerced, or is it them for tricking me into being coerced or being misled? Who's responsible? And if you don't know, then you can't be held accountable. So if you don't know that this is a form of dark psychology, then you can't be held accountable for it. You just can't. And regulations and ethical standards. Should there be regulations surrounding the use of psychological tactics in marketing, social media, or even in personal interactions? As dark psychology becomes more entrenched in various spheres, regulator frameworks may become necessary to mitigate the risks associated with its misuse. So, should there be regulations on, who or how, people can be manipulated, as far as, commercials, Nike always showing up, or certain commercials um, trying to influence you or trying to get you to purchase its product in a manipulative way. Like Pfizer, or not Pfizer, but um, Jardians. It's easy to see. I'm lowering my A1C or something like that, but they got all these commercials about these particular prescription drugs, and they do that on a wide scale with all drugs that's being released. They have these new drugs that they're coming out with, and then they make commercials about them. And then within the commercial they tell you all the side effects, which is kind of, yeah, that's kind of weird that they give you all these uh, 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 these side effects in the fine print, and so addressing the future of dark psychology. As we look towards the future, a critical question arises: how do we effectively address the challenges posed by dark psychology? An essential component for the future of dark psychology lies in education and awareness. So it is up to the people to be educated and be more aware of how dark psychology is implicated, and how to safeguard themselves from being manipulated through dark means, like through dark tactics. And then you have raising awareness. Educating the public about dark psychological tactics is imperative. Workshops, articles, and digital content must engage individuals to recognize manipulative behaviors actively. By enhancing awareness, we empower people to make informed decisions, building resilience against psychological manipulation. See, the thing is, I'm glad they use resilience, because resilience is, to God or to the righteous, to what relentless is to the devil or to the wicked. So the wicked is relentless in their tactics. They're never stop. They'll never give up their tactics. The moment that they give up their tactics, they become, righteous. The moment that they stop, manipulating people with dark manipulation and dark psychology, they become righteous. But the resilience is of righteous is people that never give up. They never give up. Yeah, resilience is the ability to never just give up. You just keep standing. So it's the resilience that we have to fortify in us. How resilient are we? Are we resilient, or are we relentless? Are we never stopping doing what we do, or do we always keep getting up? So the resilience against psychological manipulation is something that we have to try to instill in people, because some of us will fall to the manipulation, but will you be resilient against it? Will you be resilient? Or would you build resilience against psychological manipulation? Mental health support. In light of emotional abuse and manipulation, creating greater access to mental health resources is vital. Support systems and safe spaces must be fostered to help victims recover from psychological harm. Enhanced mental health resources can equip individuals with tools to fight against, understand, and heal from the effects of dark psychology. So they know that dark psychology has an effect on mental health. They may show you so much fictitious negative news that impacts you psychologically, where you may think that these things are really real, and it can affect you mentally. You know, it can affect you mentally, and we have to have some sort of support for people or resources for those that have been impacted by, just receiving a overload of just bad news, and being manipulated, or um, just anything that has something to do with being their mind being targeted by something that's dark and sinister. So that's something that we can all agree about, that it does affect you mentally. So it does create a mental illness in you, and it affects your mental health. Yes. So incorporating ethical standards. As technology grows more integral to our lives, ethical standards surrounding the use of dark psychological tactics must be established. The discourse surrounding ethics and accountability must become part of the conversation, influencing organizations, digital platforms, and individuals alike. So, we have to incorporate some sort of standard. Any and everybody just can't, use these tactics and not feel as though they're going to have no consequences and repercussions behind them. You have to have some sort of consequences and repercussions behind them. So this is where, the ethical standard would be relevant at. You have to have a certain standard. And if they go past that standard, then, they should, suffer some sort of penalty for that. The long-term implications of dark psychology. The future of dark psychology is both unsettling and imperative to address. The interplay between technology, societal changes, and psychological tactics shapes how individuals and collectives interact in a modern context. Will we witness a spiraling effect that allows manipulative practices to thrive, or can society galvanize against these harmful behaviors? The implications are vast, stretching from personal relationships to broader societal concerns. As individuals become increasingly aware and vigilant, the landscape surrounding dark psychology could shift. More informed communities can challenge manipulative practice while fostering healthier interpersonal and societal dynamics. However, complacency may allow these tactics to evolve unchecked, affecting generations to come. This goes back to the interpersonal relationships, where they target the man and the woman and create tension between them, and keep that relevant, keeping it in our sight, so we see that men is cheaters and all men ain't nothing, and that trickles down to our children, and then it trickles down to their children, because it's the complacency of the people to address the tactics that's going to be used, and now they've just gave it to generation to generation to generation. So that's what we have to get out of being complacent when it comes to addressing those that are using dark manipulative tactics, to control or to sway society into a particular way. But every day they're recruiting people, more and more people. Everybody has, a certain price tag on them. So they have certain, Scooby snacks that they give these people, and once you give them a Scooby snack, they become complacent and don't even acknowledge how wicked they are, and their in their role in allowing dark manipulative tactics to be unleashed on the populace. So here we have a quote: "The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist." This comes from Charles Baudelaire. 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 Charles Baudelaire. Yeah. So in conclusion, understanding the future implications of dark psychology serves as a necessary examination of present and future societal interactions. The path forward includes recognizing dark psychological tactics and remaining committed to ethical standards that promote healthier environments for all. Not just for some, but for all. Not just for the rich, but what about the healthy environment for the poor and those that are amongst the poor? What about them? What about for the mentally ill? How do we create a healthy environment for the mental ill? How do we do that? You know, um, how do we create these healthy environments? For those interested in exploring further aspects of human behavior, consider reading about the profound implications of misguided institutions in articles like Reading's Ruin, The Dark Days of Reading Reformatory. So there you have it. This was an article on, dark psychology and, how these tactics are used on the populace to create an effect of a swaying of people or keeping the people in a certain state, whether that's fear, whether that's distrust, mistrust, whether that's in a delusional state, whether it's in any kind of state that can be used to dictate a person's behavior or or foster a certain behavior pattern would be in the realm of being under dark psychology, and being used as one of their dark manipulative tactics. So I hope that helps somebody, because we have to start chipping away at the societal ills that is creating all the problems for us in society. And once we're able to zero in on it, we'll probably be able to put an end to it. But it takes a collective effort. Other than that, it'll just be an individual stepping out of the way of being manipulated while the masses are manipulated. And anytime a person sees certain things, like the watchman in Ezekiel, and don't warn the people, he's or she's just as responsible for it as well. So you have to always, inform the masses, especially when you see anything that's out of line. And yeah. So hopefully that helps people. But peace.